This video is brought to you by Brilliant. When you look at the swing states and their recent voting records, certain patterns emerge. For instance, out of the 7 widely considered true swing states, 5 of them voted for Trump in 2016, but then switched to Biden in 2020. Nevada is the only state that voted for both Clinton in 2016 and Biden in 2020, albeit both times by narrow margins. In a sense, Nevada's opposite number is North Carolina here, the only swing state of the 7 to vote for Trump in both 2016 and 2020, and it's reliably returned Republicans at both the federal and state level. Unsurprisingly, the Tar Heel state and its 16 electoral college votes were originally considered a write-off by Democrat strategists, but a handful of recent polls now have Harris at least within the margin of error, and these were before the new revelations about the incumbent Republican lieutenant governor, who has a colourful history on the internet. So, in this video, we're going to take a look at the political history of North Carolina, why Democrats are optimistic about it, and what it would actually take to turn North Carolina blue.
Before we start, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell to stay in the loop and be notified when we release new videos.
So, to understand North Carolina's politics, we need a bit of history. In many ways, you might expect it to be a classic Republican state. Like most southern states, it's socially conservative, and, in part because of its history as one of the original 13 colonies, North Carolina has long stood on the side of states' rights, whether that's about slavery, Jim Crow, Social Security, Medicare, abortion, or gun rights. However, when it came to economic issues, North Carolina took a different path to its low-tax southern neighbours, investing heavily in public infrastructure and developing a reputation as an outpost of southern progressivism. Immigration into the state helped accelerate population growth and push North Carolina's politics to the left a little bit, with Democrats generally doing better in its urban centres and Republicans in its rural areas. While Democrats struggled at federal elections, North Carolina has voted Republican at every presidential election since 1980, with the notable exception of 2008, when Obama won by 20,000 votes, they did surprisingly well at state-level elections, at least until recently. 23 out of North Carolina's 26 governors have been Democrats, as have 15 of its 16 attorney generals, an office that has often been used to jump off to the governorship. Democrats also held steady majorities in the state legislature until about 2010, but the 2010 census gave the newly elected Republicans the opportunity to draw gerrymandered maps and guarantee themselves a legislative supermajority, even though the popular vote has always been roughly 50-50. So, given these circumstances, what makes Democrats more optimistic about their chances in the state this year compared to previous ones? Well, like most states that have started to trend Democrat, it's the growth of the cities and suburbs. Thanks to affordable housing and a relatively low cost of living, cities like Raleigh and Charlotte are some of the fastest growing in the United States. This is apparent in county-level voting data. Mecklenburg County, where Charlotte is located, voted for Obama by 22 points in 2012, but went for Biden by over 35 in 2020, with the raw vote tally increasing by 20%. Wake County, where Raleigh is located, voted for Obama by 10 points in 2012 and went for Biden by over 25 points in 2020. Democrats actually flipped 7 counties in the state between 2012 and 2020, while increasing their margins in super blue counties like Orange and Durham. So, can Democrats actually flip the state? Well, it does look like there's actually a pretty good chance here. Although Trump won the state by a healthy 3.6 points in 2016, an improvement off Romney's 2.2 margin in 2012, he only won the state by 1.3 points in 2020. And while Republicans won the Senate seat in 2022, it was their worst performance there since 1998. Trump's pick for governor might help Democrats as well. For context, North Carolina elects its governor on the same ballot as the president, and in the governor's race, the Republicans, led here by Trump, have nominated Mark Robinson, the current lieutenant governor. While a lieutenant governor would usually make for a good pick, Robinson has a colourful past. In previous social media posts, Robinson called the Holocaust hogwash and implied he didn't believe that 6 million Jews died in it. He also appeared on a podcast in 2019 with an alleged cult leader and stated that he agreed with the host's theory that Jewish bankers were one of the so-called 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, along with Muslims, China, and the CIA. Then, last week, CNN found an old account of his called Mini Soldier on a pornography website called Nude Africa, where he talked about fantasies where he cheated on his wife with her non-existent sister, expressed an interest in transgender content, and called himself a pervert. Robinson also allegedly referred to Martin Luther King as a, quote, commie bastard and worse, used homophobic and Islamophobic slurs, said he wanted to bring slavery back, and, entirely unprompted, described himself as a black Nazi. Robinson also apparently still owes money to an employee he borrowed off to buy a pornographic film that was too graphic for North Carolina stores. Robinson has denied all of the allegations, but there's enough to them that the Trump campaign have apparently been pressuring Robinson to step down. Robinson has refused, and even though Trump is now trying to campaign in the state without him, he's still on the ballot. Unsurprisingly, these controversies have tanked Robinson's poll numbers, and some polls now have him 10 points down behind his Democratic opponent. If Robinson loses the race by double digits, Trump may be taken down with him in a similar fashion to the 2022 Pennsylvania governor's race. In that race, Republican Doug Mastriano, a Trump-aligned candidate, lost to Josh Shapiro, and the spillover cost Republicans multiple congressional races. Now, we should say most analysts still think Trump is the slight favourite in North Carolina at the moment, and both The Economist and Nate Silver's forecast currently give him about a 61% chance of winning. Robinson had already publicly said some questionable things in the past, so these latest revelations will have a limited impact, and a non-trivial number of Republicans will just split their ticket by voting for Trump in the presidential and someone else or no one in the gubernatorial. Nonetheless, if North Carolina were to go Democrat, it would be amazing news for Harris. North Carolina has 16 electoral college votes, and without it, Trump will really struggle to make it over the line. To give you a sense of quite how difficult the electoral arithmetic becomes, both The Economist and Silver think Trump has a 10% chance of winning the presidency if he loses North Carolina, which is why this latest scandal could be such great news for the Democrats. What do the world's best politicians have in common? They're willing to learn something new every day. And if you think that sounds too hard or too time-consuming or just too overwhelming for you, then you haven't tried Brilliant.org. Brilliant is where you learn by doing, with thousands of interactive lessons in maths, data analysis, programming, and AI. Like I said though, the real value here is that you can do this easily every day, truly committing to lifelong learning. Slowly, over time, you'll not only pick up new skills or get better at maths, but you also feel the satisfaction that comes with bettering yourself and staying ahead. For instance, if, like many world leaders, you want to get better at handling finances, you might want to check out the ton of new data science content Brilliant has just released, all of which uses real-world data to train you to see trends and to make better informed decisions. They're perfect for learners of any level to start or continue learning data analysis, with a full suite of new content covering data visualizations, algorithms, regression models, and more. Plus, you can gain additional insight by working with real data sets from sources like Airbnb, Spotify, Starbucks, and more. To try everything Brilliant has to offer, free, for a full 30 days, click on the link in the description.